Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coaches and Content, where we teach coaches how to get clients through content. Today, we have another awesome entrepreneur, and we have Ginger Walker on today. Ginger, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you coming on. I think we kind of connected because we're both admins in the Drunk on Social group.
Yep, absolutely. It's such a fun group, too. I'm so excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, actually, I just released my interview with Jeff last week. Jeff's super awesome, so it's good timing to have you on here.
I love Jeff. And actually, from a content creation, like if you're not following him, you definitely should be. And Drunk on Social, too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And he's so dynamic. I absolutely love him.
So, guys, I always like to give background first on the people and help them promote their stuff. So, you can learn more about Ginger by visiting gingerwalker.com. So, Ginger is a real estate agent. She has over 13 years of experience. She's a mom, a wife, and a miracle worker, which I love that title. She's the CEO of her own company, the Give Back Team, located in Virginia. And you're also on the radio in Virginia, right?
I am. I'm on B101.5 for a segment called Ask the Realtor, which I actually was up pretty early this morning for because I was on the radio this morning taking questions from the local community on anything real estate.
That's awesome. Yeah. So definitely want to talk about that later. But lastly, you've been in some big publications too. So I definitely need to mention that. You've been in Entrepreneur Magazine. You've been on BuzzFeed.com, and have you been in Time Magazine, or you've been on Time's website?
Time. Yep. Time. And I think there's probably a couple of other ones along the way. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, the theme of this podcast is content, and I'm guessing a lot of that stuff came from you doing content, right?
Yeah, I mean, visibility is key, especially in this industry right now. And video is king or queen, because I like to think of it on the female side of things.
Right.
But I think just being present in the public eye where you can, and obviously offering value while you're there. So, with the articles and things like that, and being on the radio, I'm trying to provide value content around providing value and information. So, the more you do it, the more people are seeing you, the more visible you become. So that's really the key for me.
Yeah, I love how you use the word value, because it seems like everyone, I think I've interviewed I think you're my 12th person, and I've released about 6 episodes, but I swear they all use the word value somewhere, providing value. And it seems like that's what the most successful people do, start with value.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and I don't know, a few other places, I'm sure, but Pinterest. I think that the key though is you also have to mix in a little bit about who you are, because, people want to get to know you as the person. So whatever platform that is, and some platforms are probably a little bit more where you can be a little bit more wacky, like TikTok. I think you can be a little bit more free with, being a little on the sillier side, where Reels, I might try and be a little bit more professional or a little more informative, but not so wacky. So I think if you're following the platform that you're putting content on, and in some of the cases that you're letting people see behind the curtain of who you are also, in addition to providing value, I think that that's the key of kind of combining those two things. You got to find the sweet spot though.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue for me, because you're talking about you have to give people insight of who you are. So I always like to start this off with the person's entrepreneurial journey. And you have an interesting story, so I want to talk about that. So you were telling me how you originally were in pharmaceuticals, you were managing a big team, right? And you made the transition to become an entrepreneur and a real estate agent. So I would love to hear the background about that.
Sure. So I went to college thinking I was going to go to law school, and that didn't quite happen. But the beautiful thing was, even though the plan that I thought I had in front of me isn't the path I actually took, I think I definitely ended up in the right place. And so I ended up in pharmaceuticals. I was a primary care rep in the streets of Newark, New Jersey. I worked in that area, and I worked my way up into wearing many different hats. I was a trainer. I was a small team lead, and basically launched a drug into the market, was in the marketing team, the training team. And I was able to get myself to a position where I was the first female to be brought up within the ranks to become a regional business director and run a big region of agents, so of pharmaceutical agents. So it was pretty cool. But I met a man, I got married, and he was moving us to Quantico, Virginia. So I had gotten to a point where, I probably was towards the top of where I was going to go at that point, and loved my job, but decided to start a family. And so from living in Hoboken, New Jersey, and working in the streets of New York City, which I definitely love, and I am a Jersey girl at heart, we moved to Quantico, Virginia, because my husband was stationed, or he had to report to Quantico. So while we were here, I did still maintain my job. It was a little more difficult, but I definitely maintained my job. But the reason why I stepped away was our first baby was coming. And we decided that I was going to become a mom first for a little while. So my career, we paused it for a minute. My most important job at that point was being super mom. And so I took the opportunity to do that. But the problem with someone who likes talking with people and likes being with people, if the only little people that I'm going to be with is little people, I needed something more to do. And so I always was in sales somehow. I had a little online store, and I was always doing something. And honestly, real estate was a total accident for me. Friends of mine got into it. They're like, hey, this is a lot of fun. And I love houses. I love decorating. I love design. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to go do that too. And I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved it. And I loved it to the point where I didn't even realize I wasn't tracking my numbers like you're supposed to. I wasn't following all the rules, but I was creating a really great business, and to the point where I was number one in a company. And so I thought, wow, I actually need to figure this out and do it right and come up with systems and plans in place. And so long story short, I fell into real estate. I fell in love with it. I never left it. I started in 2008 when the market was like this. I figured if I could sell real estate then and learn, I could sell in any market. And here I am chatting with you today. So that's kind of the soup and nuts of the background of Ginger Walker in real estate.
That's a. I was expecting the story to be good, but it definitely topped what I thought. That's a great story. Because you found something, you kind of found something, a passion, and you found it because you wanted something more. You didn't want to just, being a mom, super important, but you wanted something else too. So that makes it super awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still a mom to two great kids. My son, he just finished his sophomore year in high school, and I just picked my daughter up from college for her first year. So I'm always the mom, the mom hat always comes first. Family is always first for me, but I love doing real estate, and that's why I want to do more. And that's how I ended up starting the team eventually down the road. So I love it though.
So you started from scratch. I'm curious, where did this, because you have a lot of great videos, you have a ton of great content, you're on every platform available, but when did you really start doing video content and creating things to help your business?
So I would say that it was probably after I started the team. So I was a solo agent up to about 3 years ago. And that's when I went from the give back girl to the give back team. And everyone was talking about video. Like, you got to do video. Like, this is your most important tool. This is it right here. And you know what? They're right. All you need is this. And so I started just creating content on my cell phone. It wasn't pretty. It was a hot mess. It wasn't edited or anything like that. But I just started putting more content on Facebook, and then I started putting more content on Instagram, and realized that people actually were responding to it. So then it became, well, what can I give you for information that you want from me? How can I help you? And how can I do it in this platform? And so I would start taking questions from my current clients, my past clients, or talk about stories and situations that I had been in, because I've been in quite a few crazy situations as an agent for as long as I've been, and just, kind of opening that curtain a little bit and sharing what was going on. So for me, it started on Facebook, and then it migrated to Instagram, and then on to, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on YouTube, obviously creating more longer form content there too.
Yeah, when I interviewed Jeff, you're doing exactly what he and I talked about. You just have to start. Like you said, you did it in the beginning. It wasn't edited. It wasn't super pretty produced, but you did it. You put it out there.
No, and I'll tell you something funny. Like the first time you could go live, I didn't even realize that I was live. Like I wasn't sure. I was just pushing buttons. And I'm like, well, you know what? They say go live in front of your, your open house. Go live in front of your new listing. Talk about it and get people invited. And so, I was inviting people to watch these things, and maybe people were, or maybe people were, and I wasn't really paying attention. But I will tell you, some of the funniest content of going live, excuse me, is when things go wrong, and people love that stuff. So it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay if you, I mean, I'm super hoarse right now. I've got a little bit of allergies going on with pollen here in Virginia. I sound a little bit different. My hair might not be perfect. It doesn't matter. People don't really care. So the more that you're showing up with consistency, I think that that's the key. And you just got to start somewhere. But I would suggest trying to go live, because that's like, you can't help it. You got to talk, right? So we had gone live once, and the husband and wife were in the house behind us, and they didn't realize we were going live. And I was with another agent on my team, and we were talking about this coming soon. We were actually just finishing the photos. And so we asked them to move the cars. Long story short, the two of them are arguing behind us. We're like on the street. They're like behind us, probably, I don't know, like 30 feet. They don't realize, they know we're videoing, but they didn't realize we were actually live on Facebook. And they're just arguing to the point where she needed him to move a car. He was going to get keys. She lays on the horn. All of it
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
it was the funniest video. And we probably got more comments on that video after, and that house sold. They're like, where were you? Like, so even if you think it's bad, it might be funny and it's real. And so that's the key thing, is just to make sure that you're doing content, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't go right. Sometimes that's the best thing.
Yeah, I always try to tell people, I think every different types of videos serve different purposes, but overall, I think people like the more raw, real stuff because we're so inundated with ads and overproduced stuff. And your story is a prime example of how like the real stuff is always what does best.
Well, even on Instagram, like, I do all these nice videos, and I do some behind a green screen or in front of a green screen, some are on location. But I think the best thing, I love watching when people like make mistakes, to include myself. So I think that the blooper reel
Yeah, yeah.
every once in a while, like, and again, that goes to show that you're human. I think that that's the funniest thing. So, I try and post blooper reels because I make mistakes all the time. Like I say the wrong word, I trip. I'm notorious to be falling on something or down something or into something. So, I mean, I definitely think that that's like, that's some of the secret sauce, because that's, again, letting people see who you are and that you're human too. It's not all super produced and pretty.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. So once you had your successful business before you started doing video, then you had a team, then you started doing video. I'm curious how soon after you started doing video did you see like business really start to pick up?
I mean, right
Wow.
away, because I started going live. I started doing more on, and this is on Facebook. I mean, I'm of that age that I think my age sort of started on Facebook first and then migrated over to other platforms. But Facebook was kind of the place that I initially started testing my feet in the water, and getting comfortable on video. And then, from there, it just kind of migrated to other platforms and learning about them. So, but yeah, I would say that it would probably be Facebook first, was where I started getting leads. And it was pretty much right away, because people were like, oh, wow, she is doing this. Oh, wow. And the more I would show up, it's at some point, it didn't always what I was saying wasn't always the most important thing. It was people seeing me with some kind of consistency, and I think that that was the thing that started clicking for me. Where people were reaching out and saying, "Hey, you know what? I saw you over here. Could you help me?" And I will tell you, one of the other keys, I think, to the success of our video. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's Ginger Walker, Give Back Team. I think we don't even have 300 subscribers. I mean, not even 300. I think I have 270 something subscribers. But the amount of business that has come from those videos, I don't care if you subscribe. I care if you watch. And if you watch and then you engage me behind the scenes, that's what I care about. And so, I mean, today alone, we have 2 closings as a result of YouTube leads.
Wow.
2. So it also goes to show you that, people could be watching what you're doing, but they're not subscribing, liking, or commenting, but people are watching. And so that's the thing. I think that's the secret magic too, is doing something with consistency and, showing up. So for YouTube, what we've learned is we're trying to post 2 videos a week. We try and do it Tuesday and Thursday. My Thursday video is posting like right now because it was a little late for the thumbnail, but just trying to find some kind of a rhythm of consistency. And, people will respond. And again, don't look at the view count or the clicks or all that stuff. Just it's the one person that DMs you that's going to make that video worth your time of 5 minutes of recording it.
Yeah, for sure. I tell people, especially with organic social media now, like Facebook, you really don't get anything organically, but like you can't get caught up on the numbers because, like you said, you don't know who's watching, and just one person, one deal alone makes a video worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I had someone on Facebook that, and I'll be honest, I don't spend as much time on Facebook anymore. I really love Instagram. That's my jam. Instagram and YouTube, really. And I'm trying on TikTok. I'm trying. But on Instagram, I like the bite-sized content. I love the fact that you now can go, live with another person. Like you and I could be doing this on Instagram too, going live and having a conversation. So I think that you just have to find the platform that works best for you, and then double down, triple down. I mean, they say 10x down. I go all in. Like if that means that I might need something a little bit more than that camera on my phone, or a ring light or something like that that's in front of me, spend a little bit of money and start just producing videos. But don't let that stop you from doing it.
Yeah, and so I just looked at your YouTube. I was looking at it earlier, but so this is the power of YouTube. So you have 278 subscribers, which isn't terrible,
I
but
got one more because I had 277, I think, yesterday. So
oh, here I'm gonna subscribe. Now you got 279 now.
there you go.
But you have videos that have almost your top video has 9,300 plus views. So, I don't want to say subscribers mean nothing, but what is that, like quintupled your views per subscriber?
Well, and so I will tell you, one of the things that I learned, if you're going to do a platform, you need to learn about it, right? And I will be full disclosure, I am a done for you kind of girl. So I don't spend my time getting in the weeds of how do I fix or work with the algorithm of this platform, because every platform is different. So I do have someone that helps me with my SEO, the keywords, how to title it. We now, if you look back, I mean, some of the videos are initially don't have any views really because I didn't use keywords. I didn't have a nice flashy thumbnail. I do have people that are helping behind the scenes with all of that. And that's what's, I think, also key is that if you're going to produce the content, you want to make sure that it's being seen by the right people. So, I did hire someone to help me with the back end of stuff because that's not my jam. Selling houses, working with people, that's where I want to be, not in the back end of YouTube. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, and same thing with Instagram. I don't, the hashtags and things like that. There's always, this person says do this, that person says do that. I just start testing and see what works. And then I double down on that.
Yeah, so I would love to actually talk about your system and your progression because there might be people out there who are just starting now and they can't afford to hire people. But what was your progression like? Like you just started going live and doing lives. It wasn't super fancy. And then what? Did you just find an editor? Like how did you progress on things?
So I actually found someone who did green screen video. And so I was talking with him and I said, the moving to, the living in, those kind of videos I think are informative and important. And so he was doing them and he was an editor. He edited the green screens. And so that's how I started. I did find someone who would help me with that part of the process because again, I don't know anything about that. That's not my lane. So I did hire someone that would literally this way. I mean, there weren't an editor. They're not located in Virginia. They're located, I think now they're in California. At one point he was in Chicago. But we did it this way. So he would actually be behind the camera, just like, we're talking here. I would literally have the cell phone in front of me and he would be helping to edit or to guide me and give me some counsel as to what I was saying or how I was looking or if I was in screen or not in screen and then they would take the raw video clips, put them together and then edit it for me. So that's actually how I started with video, more produced video. I did find a VA also. So if cost is something that you're concerned with, I mean, you can work with a VA. They're much less expensive than maybe someone who might be in your backyard. Or you can also look to find someone, maybe a college student or an art student, or even a wedding photographer when it's not their busy season, if that's something that they like doing beyond, the wedding videos. So I kind of dabbled my feet and looked all over the place, because when I realize I need to do something, I'm going to find the resources, and I don't want to spend a gazillion dollars in doing so. So that's really how I started. And then just asking a lot of questions, talking to people like you, talking to people like Jeff and Tristan, being in groups like Drunk on Social, trying to get ideas and find people that are maybe in your area that could help you. But that's really where I started, was the green screen. And yeah, it was a little expensive, but once I saw that it was producing a result, instead of pulling back, I doubled down. And in fact, even with COVID, we created a whole live at 11. My whole team, we would go live at 11. We would answer everybody's questions. It was like the Brady Bunch. So you can find inexpensive ways to also do things, but that's how I got started, really, was the green screen, and went from there.
So I think that covers for like new people. I'm curious now. So fast forward to today,
Mhm.
you're making so much different types of content. You're on Instagram, YouTube, it's all kind of different stuff, Facebook.
Yep.
So I'm curious, like, what is your system now? Like, you work with your people and you have a content calendar, or how do you kind of plan these things out?
So we try and batch record now. I got to the point where, if I wanted to produce enough videos for YouTube, and the goal is to put out 2 a week, so I know how many videos I need to record the month before. So next week, actually, there's 2 days that I'll be shooting video, which is not usual. It's usually one day a month I try and do it. But I will pick a day. We'll pick a day on the calendar, and we'll try and keep it with somewhat consistency, to take the day, or half of the day at least, and then start recording videos. And that's not only the long form content, but if I can start shooting some of the short form content too. So some of the stuff I'm doing is more like Q&A style, where it is intended for short form content, but we'll take a day, and that's literally what we do. Now, I also work with different videographers. I did have someone that was on my team that was the videographer. Unfortunately, he decided to get married and move away. So I still have my green screen person that helps me with that editing. So some of those videos that you're seeing on YouTube are still with that person that helped me from the very beginning with the green screen stuff. So, but now I do spend, I've quadrupled, or probably at this point 12x down on what I spend on video and creation, because I'm getting the results. And so I do have a videographer that comes for a day or two. Sometimes we do back to back, and we create a lot of longer form content with that videographer. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, recording in batch is the way to go. That's the key, and
Mhm.
that's what I tell people all the time. Like, you really have to make it part of your schedule. So if you every Monday from 10 to 11, you record the content, and then eventually you might be able to let up because you have so much. But that's what I tell people to do too: is make it part of your schedule and just do it in batch.
Well, and if you batch it, here's the thing, then you're not stressed over it. It's not like, oh my gosh, what am I going to record today? Right? It's already done. So, and then I keep, like, I either have my notebook that I keep, and in the back of the notebook that I use, I just keep all the ideas for different videos that I want to do. And I keep one in my phone also. So if someone's talking about something, like next week, I have a lender coming in, and we're doing 3 videos on, interest rates and inflation, and what that's going to mean to your average, payment, and things like that. So we've got a lot of content that we're creating next week. Ironically, with one of Jeff's lenders here in Northern Virginia.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're going to be creating that. We've time blocked 2 hours for that. So, if, and that'll get ready and get edited for probably dropping relatively soon. But if you can batch create ideas or content that isn't necessarily has to be out today, but that maybe you could put out in the next couple of weeks or 2 weeks, it takes the stress off. But one other thing that I would suggest that you do too is that, just to get yourself like the muscle used to making content, is just in the morning, just take your phone and record a quick video. Even if it's just for your Instagram story, hey, this is Ginger Walker, blah, 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 whatever, and then post it on your story. Do I do that right now? I'm going to say no. But I've given that idea to some other people and I see that they're doing it. And that's kind of, I guess, gotten them into the habit of actually recording too. But batch content is definitely the key. It will save you the stress of worrying about what to post and when.
Yeah, and I think TikTok really changed the landscape of things. So now you can really just do the point and shoot, the selfie
Mhm.
style videos. Like, or if you have an assistant, they can film you, if you don't want to hold the phone and talk. But yeah, I think that is a good point too. Yeah.
And with TikTok, I mean, I'm learning on that platform, and I was laughing. I a friend of mine I was talking to that's very popular on TikTok. I mentioned to her, "Hey, listen, I just got someone to duet me. I didn't even know I've duetted
Yeah.
other people, but I actually had someone duet me, and I was like shocked. So I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was laughing. So going back to, you never know who's watching, or what resonates with people. It was a video that I have a Tesla. I got a new Tesla. And that was actually what they duetted me on. I was a brand new Tesla owner and I didn't know how to do something. And I was like, the garage door button. That's actually what it was. I was like, where is the button? And so then he duetted me and he was showing me his car. It was funny. So, you that's a fun, I mean, that's just a fun platform to create content. And on TikTok, could you batch create content and drop it there? The answer is yes. And I do that. But I also do like the organic piece of like, hey, I just flew in from Tampa and I videoed Breeze Airway was a brand new airline. I videoed my whole trip and I made it into a short TikTok. So, things like that too are kind of that behind the curtain sort of thing that we were talking about before too.
Yeah, you bring a great point. I'm glad you did because we need to talk about this too. Is the type of stuff the type of content you create. So, if you just make all real estate stuff all day, every day, no one's going to care. Nobody's going to watch it. But
Mm-mm.
when you do this kind of other stuff, this fun, real stuff, that's the key right there. And so you nailed it with that for sure.
Yeah, I think, and it goes back to just showing who you are and what's, I don't put as much of my family on with intention, but I put a lot of what I do and where I am. And I will tell you one of the key things that we're also doing for social media is, I mean, my team name I know I mentioned is Give Back Team, and so we do a lot within the community, and so it doesn't always have to be me in the video. It could be the community in the video and highlighting that. So some of the content we've created, I mean, it is on my YouTube channel too, but just doing a video spotlight of a community. You don't have to be in the video, but people will be interested in that too, about where do you work? Where do you live, work, and play is kind of the thing that we go by. So, or if there's an ice cream store that we really like to go to, we'll video that. So it's kind of showing you in the community. So it's highlighting where you work, where you live, but also where you play. And that's kind of, again, letting people see a little bit more about you that they might not have known if you're just posting real estate videos. Because honestly, who cares? Right? You need to have why do people want to watch this? Like, how many beautiful videos walking through a house does someone really want to see on my page? I mean, I don't. I like watching some of them because I love watching. I that's my thing. I mean, that's my passion. I love real estate. I love design. I mean, I am a stager, a licensed stager also, so I'm always looking for those sorts of things in the videos. But people can't consume 200 videos of, short form videos of listing tours. But on TikTok, when they're scrolling, right, and then they see a pretty house, okay, cool, but then they're scrolling and they're watching other things. That's really what hooks them in, is that. So I think it's having a good balance of the real estate stuff, but also the area you work and a little bit about you too. I think it has to be a good blend.
Right. Yeah. Who you are and what you do. Yeah. It's got to be a mix of both.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll wrap it up in a minute. One other concept I really want to talk about is like the doors that were opened up to you through creating content, creating these videos, because you moved to Virginia, you didn't really know anyone, you started a new market, and now you're on the radio in Virginia. So I'm curious, and you've been in these magazines and websites as well. I'm curious with the radio thing. Do you think that came from you creating content?
You know what it came from? It came from actually being in the community. And that's the key. So very long story short, I do a lot of videos about community, people in the community, local businesses, local charities, and local people. And it was through connections within the community that I ended up meeting the DJ of the morning show on B101.5 out of Fredericksburg. And that was what led to conversations about what we do. And we do a lot behind the scenes and in front of the scenes within the community from the giving back perspective, because we not only donate back to the charity of our client's choice after closing, but we do a lot in the community as far as drives and participating in different things that are coming up. And so it was through something through the community that I ended up getting connected with the DJ, and we just were chatting, and she's like, "Hey, let's do this." And so we created, they hadn't had it before. And there was a need because there was a lot of questions about what was going on in the market. We created, or they created a Ask the Realtor segment. So I am on the radio. I was just on the, like I said, I was on the radio this morning, and I'm on for an hour, and I answer the real estate related questions, which is pretty cool because now people are hearing my voice. And they're getting to know me a little bit better too, because it's not all real estate that we talk about. It's fun, it's some fun stuff too that's happening in the community as well. So I think the key is just the more you're in the community and caring about the community, the more the community will care about you. But that's not to say that, you couldn't, if you're interested in getting on the radio, you know, contact your local radio station and say, "Hey, I think that this might be something that would be valuable. What do you think? How about we try it and see if, because it's very successful for me, and people now ask me questions all the time, but it's something that anybody can do. It doesn't have to be someone asking you to do it. It could be you approaching a local radio station and saying, "Hey, I can provide you value," and seeing if they would be willing to, put you on the air and answering questions in your community.
Yeah, I mean, you never know until you try. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta ask. I mean, you don't ask, you don't get. But I was very fortunate because it was just from being in the community that I was asked to do it. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it too.
So as we wrap it up, I had to ask. I want to save this for the end because it's about you and your content, but I definitely have to mention because I'm a fan as well. Your relationship with Ryan Serhart. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Sirhan, Ryan Sirhan.
Serhant. Yeah. So yeah, I love the $1 Million Listing Show, and I love his story as well. So he's your mentor, right?
He's one of them. I actually have three. I have three mentors for three different things in my business, but he is one. He's just a dynamo. And I mean, he's in New York. So come on, any excuse that I could have to go back home,
Right.
I'm going to take. But I mean, if you watch him, he's so engaging. His content is amazing. What he's been able to create is unbelievable. I mean, just, watching from where he came from. I mean, he was a hand model, I think, and
Yeah.
on soap operas. And so where he's been able to, create a business and open a brokerage, and he coaches agents. I mean, the things that he's been able to accomplish are just amazing. And so from a content creation perspective, I mean, he's one of my faves. So he is one of my three mentors. The other one is Tom Ferry, and then the third one is Sharon Srivatsa, and I have them for different things. But I think having a mentor is a key too, because they push me outside of where my thinking might be to try something different. And for video, I would say without a doubt, the Tom Ferry ecosystem and the Sirhan ecosystem have definitely helped me level up my game when it comes to content creation.
That's awesome. Well, so as we wrap it up, the last question. I'm curious, because you seem like you're the type of person you just keep going and taking things to the next level. So I'm curious, like, how do you have like what, 20, 15,000, 18,000 Instagram followers. And I know you said that's your favorite, but I'm curious, how are you going to take things to the next level? How are you going to get to 100,000 Instagram followers?
Well, hopefully someone that's watching this might be interested and follow me along, but in my journey, and I'd follow you back. But no, all joking aside, I think for me, I don't care about the number. I think that's the key. I think when you focus too much on how many people are following me, that's where you get tripped up. I just want to keep creating whatever it is that the platform is asking for. So I think that that's going to be the key for me is if reels is what they want, I'm going to produce more reels. If it's stories that they want, I'm going to do more stories. If I'm going to go live, but I'm going to use the features of the platform and try and stay on top of whatever those are. Would I like to hit 100,000 followers on Instagram? Absolutely. Am I going to watch it that closely? I'm not, to be very honest with you, because if that mattered as much, I mean, obviously then YouTube, I would have walked away from. And look, now I've got 279 followers,
Yeah.
but I've got a lot of business coming from there. So, but I definitely will leverage the platform and whatever it's offering us to use, because they're telling us that's what we should use. So that's how I'm going to hopefully continue to grow on that platform and others.
Well, speaking of platforms, so I definitely want to give you your chance to, tell people where they can find you, promote your stuff. Anyone who's in the Virginia area is looking to buy or sell a house, things like that. So where can people, learn more about you, or if they're interested in buying, selling a house, or whatever you want to promote? Now's the time, for sure.
So I would say if you want to follow me, my Instagram and TikTok is The Real Ginger Walker. It was Ginger Walker, but someone actually spoofed me and took my social media platforms offline. So
Oh, wow.
I had to change my name. So I'm The Real Ginger Walker on Instagram and TikTok. You can find me on Facebook, Ginger Walker, but you can also find the team, which is Official Give Back Team. And our website is givebackteam.com. So you can find a lot of great information there. And if you're interested in working with me, you can definitely DM me on any of the platforms, but I'd probably say I live on Instagram a lot more than any other one. So if you send me a message there, I would love the opportunity to chat with you. And if you're an agent that's in another area, I'd love to meet you too, because I love networking with my other agents across the country, because I think that's so important. So would love to hear from anyone who wants to send me a message.
Awesome. So yeah, guys, for those watching or listening, I'll have all the links in the descriptions. So Ginger, is there anything else you want to add, or anything else you want to mention?
The only thing I would say is the key, I think, for me is giving back to your community. That's where we come from. That's where I come from as Ginger Walker, but that's where my team comes from too. And so if there's anything that you can do to make a direct impact in your community to create a ripple effect, do it, because you will see the impact that that makes in the community and in your business. I mean, beyond what you would expect. So create content that offers value, and definitely create it about your community and bring awareness to things that are in your community that people might not know of, because that's what's going to set you apart from everybody else.
I think that's a great way to end it. Is the combination of providing value and adding value to the community. I don't know how you could end the interview any better than that, right?
Sounds good to me.
So Ginger, I'm really glad that we connected. I appreciate you taking out the time to come on here. So guys, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode.